everybody!
Hi guys!
Welcome to Southern Bells. I'm Wanda.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are here today with a little bit different of a video.
That's right.
I don't know if that was grammatically correct, but you know what I mean. You get the gist of it.
Right. It's an important video though.
It is. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's a time that is pretty dear to my heart. I think the hearts of my family.
Yes, yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to share my breast cancer journey because I am a survivor. If you haven't been with us before, I am an 8-year breast cancer survivor. And
Excuse me.
I'm not telling this story to be depressing or anything like that, or to garner sympathy or anything, because I feel so very blessed, and
You do too.
yeah, and I have a really good life, and I feel very healthy, and I just wanted to share that because mostly if you find yourself on the breast cancer journey, or if you know somebody, a loved one that's on the breast cancer journey, I want to encourage you, because it can be a scary thing.
Scary.
But I'm going to start kind of where my journey did start at the beginning. I have always been I think, a very healthy person. You know, and of course, living in the South, I don't cook perfectly, you know. But, you know, I'm not one to fry foods. I do like my Pepsi.
Yeah.
But my point is, I exercised, you know, I tried to maintain a healthy weight. I can't say I was stress-free, because there's always stresses in life, you know. I don't think you can
especially
go through
as a school
life.
teacher.
Yeah, I don't think you can go through life without having stress. But I say that to say this: I was a very healthy, in good shape person. I exercised pretty strenuously, you know, so I was in good shape. I was also one that did not go to the doctor. I mean, I really didn't. I think in a span of, my son's 22, in a span of probably 12 years, 10 years or 12 years, I think I went to the doctor maybe twice, and I think those were for sinus infections. And that was it. You know, I didn't go get a checkup. I didn't do self-breast exams. I didn't get mammograms. Even after I turned 40. I just didn't, because I was healthy and I didn't need to. And besides, I was scared of doctors.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
That was the big thing. I was very terrified to go to doctors, and I don't know why, because I'd never had a bad experience with them. Really, I guess the only time I had ever been in the hospital up to that point was when Rebekah and my son Lindsay was born. So, you know, if I didn't feel well, I just said, oh, it'll go away in a little while. And I don't mean to ramble, but I had been experiencing some pain in my right breast, and it wasn't a sharp pain. It was more like a dull ache, you know. And this went on for quite a while, probably, I don't know, 8 months, maybe even a year, and I didn't do anything about it. I just would say, okay, this is going to go away. But in October, and it was really about this time of year, almost to the week.
Early October.
Early October. One night, I just sat down after I had showered, and I did do a little breast exam. I wasn't even sure how to do it, and I felt something that didn't feel like it was supposed to be there. And I can remember sitting there. I was wrapped in my towel. I was sitting on the side of the bed, and it just hit me, and I didn't, you know, I didn't go hysterical or anything, but I called my husband, and I told him, I said, I think there's something that's not right. And he told me, he said, you're going to the doctor. And so that's exactly what I did. I think it was the very next day, I went to our family doctor. and she examined me, and she immediately told me, I want you to go get I don't remember if it was an ultrasound. I don't remember what you call it. I think it was an ultrasound at our local hospital. And so I said, okay. And and I have to admit, breast cancer was in the back of my mind, but I was worried, but I wasn't. I was almost like, well, no, that's not what it is. I'm just going to go through all of this stuff.
That can't happen to us, you know.
Yeah. It's something else. It's just something that's going to go away, but I'm going to go ahead just to set my mind at ease. Mm-hmm. And two, my mom passed away with cancer, but she passed away with another type of cancer. She passed away with leukemia. And so I knew I had that history, but it wasn't breast cancer, mm-hmm. Really nobody in my immediate family had ever had breast cancer. So within the next couple of days, I went to the hospital to get my ultrasound. And I kind of got nervous when the technician looked at me. They're not allowed to give you results or anything. When she looked at me and she said, you make sure that a doctor talks to you before you leave. And when she said that, it just I was like, oh no.
Very unsettled.
This is something a little bit more than I thought it was. And so the doctor there did talk to me, but still did not tell me, this is breast cancer. They just said, this looks very suspicious. And so they made me an appointment at another hospital, a bigger hospital, I guess you could
mm-hmm.
say. And so I had to go into this hospital, and they did a biopsy. And I had never had anything like that before, ever. And I can remember, and I will tell you, the hardest part is the not knowing for sure and the waiting. It really is, because it's with you every single moment. And at this point, I had not told Rebekah, I had not told...
I was in college, living on campus.
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned... I think you knew I was going to the doctor, but I don't think you knew
why.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly.
I don't remember exactly either.
But I hadn't told my son because he was only in 8th grade.
Oh, okay. I thought he was in
No, he was in 9th grade. He was in 9th grade. He was in high school. And I hadn't told my dad because, like I said, my mom had passed away with leukemia, and that hit him very, very hard. And I didn't want to worry any of them needlessly. So it was a little bit of secret keeping around our house at that time. But I went and I had the biopsy. And as I said, I will say my faith played a very strong part in this, because I am a believer. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and there would be a song on my mind. One in particular I remember, I will lift my eyes to the maker of the mountains I can't climb. And I would hear that, and I felt it was God telling me, I'm here with you. Not that he was promising me one way or the other, but he was telling me, I am here with you. And so that really got me through a lot of nights. Well, I went and I had the biopsy done, and the whole time, and like I said, I had never had anything like that before. And I was scared, and my husband was not able to go that far with me. He was in the waiting room. And so I can remember how the nurses, they were so precious, and they were so good to me. I can remember one just letting me hold her hand and squeeze her hand. She was talking to me, darling, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Patting my shoulder and let me hold her hand and squeeze her hand, actually. And I had a verse that was going through my mind constantly. What time I am afraid, I will trust in you. What time I am afraid, I will trust in you. And it was just running through my mind. And so I had the biopsy done. Well, it's all a waiting game. Like I said, that's one of the hard parts. Still didn't know anything for sure, even though my doctor had told me that he thought it probably was. I was still clinging to that hope. No, maybe it's something else. And so after we had the biopsy and we waited several more days, I had another appointment. And I can remember Dr. Vincliffe coming in and saying, well, hon, it's cancer. And I can remember looking at him and saying, I have a big God. And he said, yes, you do. He said, would you like me to pray with you? And I said, yes. I knew I had found the right doctor at that point. And I'm not trying to make this a religious video, but this is my experience. This is my story. And that was a big part of it. So, and I know this probably sounds crazy, but after all of that, and after he prayed with me, and as we were getting all kinds of material, there are so many decisions to be made, it was a relief. And I know that may sound crazy, but it was like, okay, we know what we have now. We know what we're facing.
Now we can deal with it.
Now let's deal with it. Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Now I can make some plans. I can have a little bit of control because up to this point, are there any of you out there who like to have a lot of control over your life? Yeah, and I had felt like I had totally lost control of everything. So now it was a little bit back. I could make some decisions. Well, when they caught my cancer, it was 1.5 centimeters, which doesn't sound like it's very big, but they weren't happy with the size of it, and I said, oh, okay, I'm not going
to argue.
Yeah, and it was in stage 2A, which is not by any means the worst stage to be in. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. If I had gone in earlier, you wonder, would it have been a little easier then if I had caught it a little bit earlier. The breast cancer that I had was in my milk duct, and they gave me several options. You could have a lumpectomy, and if I had the lumpectomy, I would have had to have had chemo prior to the surgery, and of course radiation at some point as well, and I would also have had to have had some chemo after the surgery. I didn't want chemo. Just to be honest, I was more afraid, and this is personal. Let me tell you, breast cancer is a personal thing, and I would never tell you, you need to do exactly what I did. I would never tell you that, because you have to think about what you can deal with. I was more afraid of the chemo than I was of the cancer, and that may sound very silly to some of you, but it was the truth. I had seen what chemo had done, and with people that I loved, and I know that I would have been strong to have gone through it, but at that point I didn't think I was strong enough to go through it, and so I made the decision to have a right bilateral mastectomy. And I have never questioned that. I feel to this day that that was the right decision for me. For me. If any of you are struggling out there with it, not necessarily you, but it was for me. I was afraid of the chemo. Well, everything happened so very fast.
How from the time you went to the doctor the first time to this point, how long was that?
Probably 2.5 weeks.
Wow, that actually probably felt like a really long time at the time.
It did, especially keeping it from y'all.
Yeah.
That was hard. It was really hard to do, and I think they both suspected that. I know my son did, because he's told me. He said, I knew something was going on.
I know I suspected something, but I don't remember why. I don't remember why I was suspecting something, because I was away. I don't know if you had told me you had been to the doctor or what, but I remember the day that we found out. Well, I guess you're probably about to get into that, so I won't go into it, but I remember, I remember some things that I remember being suspicious.
Yeah. Well, I know when I was deciding about the mastectomy and talking to my husband about it, he was so wonderful through the whole thing. I mean, my whole family was once they found out, but he was the only one that knew for a long time. Well, I say a long time, the 2.5 weeks. Yeah. And I know when I was, when I was going back and forth about the mastectomy, I just remember him looking at me and saying, you know what, I love you for what's in your chest, not on your chest. And I just remember that meant so much to me. I still remember it today. But fast forward a little bit, so now I had to tell everybody. And when I got home, well, actually, when I got home, I called my dad. He was the next person that I told, because I knew. I didn't know what I was facing, and I didn't know. I knew that the surgery was going to be coming up pretty soon. So I told him, and it hit him pretty hard as well. And he was so supportive too. I mean, he was, I'd have a doctor's appointment, he'd show up.
He was there for everything.
Everything, every single thing. And then I had a Sunday school party for some reason. I can't remember why. I think maybe it was our quarterly dinner, and I taught the older ladies, like the older ladies in our church, and I just loved them because they were all just so, they would be my mother and everything, and they would just pet on me all the time anyway. So I can remember we were going to tell my son and daughter at the same time, and this was a Saturday, and she was at college because she was in the band and had a football game that day. And so we were going to go to the football game after we ate with the ladies, and we were going to take her and my son out for dinner afterwards, and we were going to talk to them. Well, one of the ladies had been suspecting things. She was like, well, what'd you find out about your doctor's visit? Because I hadn't even told Lindsay that I had been to the doctor and everything, and I could see him start looking around like, okay, he knew something was up. He knew that something was up. And that pretty much confirmed it right there. Yeah. And so I think we actually ended up having, because he asked me, we ended up having to tell him before we got to the game. Mm-hmm. And I even remember we went to that Japanese
restaurant,
fast food type restaurant afterwards, and I can remember we sat in the booth.
Yeah.
And I told you, and what was your reaction?
Well, I remember that day. I remember something about them at the football game. I knew something was up. I don't know if y'all had not been planning on coming to the football game, but I distinctly remember looking into the stands and seeing y'all there and thinking something was up. Yeah, and then I remember going out to lunch afterwards, and I knew it wasn't going to be good. I didn't know exactly what to expect. And then I remember you telling me, and it's just like your stomach dropped, your heart drops into your stomach. It just.
I remember she couldn't eat afterwards.
Yeah, I lost my appetite, and I was just stunned, and didn't want to go back to school, right away. Yeah.
And I'll say this too. I think the hardest time to find out that you have breast cancer is during Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Now, I remember walking around campus right after you found out, and there would be Breast Cancer Awareness Month things set up, and it would make me angry. I would be thinking, this is so insensitive. They don't know what we're going through. I don't want to see this. I don't want to be reminded of this,
And I was kind of the same way because I couldn't get away from it. Everywhere I went, it was pink. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way now at all. I don't. But, at the time when you're dealing with all that, your moods are kind of crazy anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my husband, because we went through the student center that she's talking about, and there was pink everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it was that night I got home and I told my husband, I said, I want us to get away. I said, I'm going to be having surgery in about 2 weeks, because really it was that that quick. I'm going to lose my breast in 2 weeks, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to recover. I don't know how long I'll have to do chemo. I don't know how long it'll be before I feel like doing anything else. I want our family to get away. And I want to get away from this pink. I mean, I actually said that, and so that's why I'm wearing my pink now.
Yeah, we're both wearing it.
And so he said, okay. And so I think the very next weekend you were off. You didn't have a football game.
Right.
And we decided that we were going to go to Gatlinburg, which is kind of our go-to spot cause if we have a quick weekend because it's close and, you know.
It's just a nice getaway.
Yeah. And there had been this hotel that sat back from the main part of Gatlinburg. It was a little bit quieter, and it sat up on a hill, and I can just remember it had a fireplace in it, and it was just a very cozy, peaceful place. And I told him, I said, I want to go stay there. I want to go stay there, and I want us to have family time. I want us to be together as a family, and I want to get away from this pink. So we get in our car and we drive up, and we couldn't leave till later, so we didn't get up there till what?
It was late at night, yeah.
10 o'clock at night, and we didn't know this, but from the time that we had stayed there a year or so earlier, the hotel had changed hands, and they got really creative.
Very creative.
Hotel.
They had like an Egyptian mummy room where you like walked in and there was like a sarcophagus and gilded gold mirrors, and there was like a western room that was like, you know, lassos on the wall, and
I think they had regular rooms,
but they also had these very intricately themed rooms.
And when we got there was only one room left. And so my husband and my son went in to check on it. We didn't know there was only one room left, but they went in to check on it. And my son comes back to the car and he's like, Mama, Daddy wants you to come and see this room, see if this room's okay. And he had this like
this blank look on his face.
And did you go in too?
No, I didn't. I stayed in the car.
I got in there and they have a video going of their themed rooms, you know, and here I see the King Tut room, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to go stay there. And the only room that was left was called the Pink Crystal Room. I kid you not. And they had pictures, and it was like
pink everywhere, like gaudy as could be,
like white wicker bird cages.
Right. Oh my goodness! Let me see if I can find a picture of it, and we can insert it later. Let me see if I can find it.
And at that point, and remember, I'm trying to get away from pink. At that moment, and the guy behind the counter was looking, I burst out laughing. And I said, God meant for us to get this room because he has a sense of humor. This is supposed to be. But you know, guys, at that point, it was like the weight of the world had just dropped off my shoulders. I think it was the first time that we had really laughed since we found out. And let me tell you, we laughed a lot when we got to that room.
We did. Oh, I don't have any good pictures of it, but I do have that picture. You can't really tell much about it in this picture, but you can see that the walls are pink. Yeah, you can't really tell much about it, but it was, gaudy as could be, bright pink everywhere.
I think that's my favorite story throughout this whole journey.
It was so funny.
Well, fast forward, you know, and I'm serious, and I won't say that I wasn't nervous, because I was. You know, you're losing a part of yourself, and you're losing a part of yourself that is part of your identity as a woman as well. You know, so it was a big deal, of course, but you know, I felt calm. To tell you the truth, I never thought about dying with breast cancer. That wasn't, I don't think that ever even really entered my mind. It was just the process of what I was going to have to go through that was more concerning to me. Well, I had a lot of good friends. My friend at the school that I taught at, one of my team teachers, and just such a wonderful, wonderful friend. I had confided in her. She was somebody else that knew, because I had confided in her. As soon as I found out that I was going to be in the hospital, it was going to take like a 6-week recovery period, and see, I was teaching school at this time too. She had the whole school organized. I am serious, the whole school. She had meals. Okay, 5th grade is going to bring you a meal on this day. 3rd grade is going to bring you, 2 weeks of meals.
Yeah. Tell them the story about the little girl in the brown lunch bag. Coins.
Oh, and this came later actually.
Yeah.
When we did Relay for Life, my class, I taught 4th grade for years and years and years, but I had one class that was so special that I looped up with them to 5th grade. And I actually think it was when I was teaching them in 5th grade that this was going on. I think I was doing 5th grade that year. She brought, and you're talking about bringing the paper bag of coins. I can't remember the story.
And some of the students at her school didn't have very much.
No, I taught at a Title I school that was in a very impoverished community, and those children took up so much money for Relay for Life. And yeah, she brought her bag in, and I am sure that was how long. And you know, that was, and I remember having to tell my whole, it was actually 3 classes because they rotated, so I taught the whole 5th grade. And I can remember we were so close to these classes that we took them in the library one day, and I had to tell them that I was going to be out for 6 weeks, and didn't tell them at that point what it was, because I wanted to be sure that things were okay. And I was 48 years old when this happened, and one of my little girls looked at me. She said, "Miss Bell, are you pregnant?" I said, "No, honey, I'm not."
You got to tell them about the letters.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
Yes. I love those children. Oh my goodness, and they still come up and hug me today. They're graduated this past year actually. But I went to the hospital, and our pastor was with me. Our associate pastor. Well, he wasn't. It's our pastor now, but he wasn't in that position at the time. My family, all of them were with me.
My pastor from my church.
Yes.
At the time.
That she was going to.
I didn't even know her.
2 very important people from my high school days found out about it. My friend Kevin saw her post on Facebook to pray for her mama, and he got in touch with you somehow. I'm sorry, this is emotional because we just lost him about a year and a half ago. And he was in a whole other part of the state, and he contacted my high school band director and told him what was going on. They showed up at the hospital during my surgery. Now, I wasn't aware of it at the time because I'd already been taken back, but they stayed and they sat with my family. There was another elderly couple from the church, the Sheldons. They came and they sat with my family, and I don't know who all was there because, like I said, I was gone, but they were there for my family, and that meant so much. You know, especially when I found out afterwards how much that really just meant to me, that they were there to minister to them and to take care of them, because I knew it was hard on y'all too, because it was a 6-hour surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long 6 hours. And me and my brother got in trouble. So there was in the hospital, they had me and my brother, of course, during a 6-hour surgery. We were very anxious and we were bored at the same time. And so we were just roaming around the hospital trying to, get out some of our nerves. And there was like a little playroom in the hospital, kind of like a little museum / playroom type thing. And on this shelf in there, they had like models of different body parts. And one of the models that they had was like a model of a fat chunk. Like it was this big gooey fat chunk type thing. And me and my brother decided to toss it back and forth. So we were tossing it. Well, one time, I think it was me, I tossed it to him and he didn't catch it, and it hit this door. And that door was apparently the office for whoever was in charge of this playroom / mini museum thing. And that lady came out of that, and we must have scared her because she was angry. She looked at us and she said, "What are y'all doing messing around in here? If y'all don't get out of here right now, I'm going to call security." And so we got in trouble for tossing around a fat chunk while she was in her surgery for breast cancer.
And my children are very good children, so they...
Yeah, we didn't know how to react.
They never got in
I
trouble.
was very upset. I was like, oh, I just got in trouble.
My hair's falling down. But anyway, I need to fast forward. I'm sorry, this is taking too long. It's just remembering back. So I had my breast removed and reconstruction done. They also were testing my lymph nodes to see if the cancer had spread anywhere. So that was, I think that was the big...
That's what everybody was really waiting to hear.
Yeah, because we knew about all the other stuff. And so, of course, I don't remember any. It went by like that for me, but it was long for them. But I can remember, I don't know if y'all had gone home or not, because it was Wednesday. It was a Wednesday that I had it, and I want to think that Jason, our pastor, took Lindsay to church.
He might have.
Because he'd been there, and boys and, with ADD, it's hard for them to stay still for very long. But I can remember waking up and I was laughing, and that's what Mark said, that he heard me and my daddy, they heard me coming down the hall laughing, and I was, I was happy. And I can't remember exactly when they came back and said that the lymph nodes were clear. It had not spread, which was wonderful news. I was, of course, wrapped in a bandage, and it was a while before I saw, how things look. And that's a moment that's a little bit, whoa, you have to get used to that moment. And, you do, but then, and I had not had, I was going to have another reconstructive surgery later, because there's a lot that's involved in between that time too.
Several different surgeries.
Yeah, because I had the implant, and they have to. It's all kinds. I learned a whole lot. Let me tell you, I learned a whole lot about how the process works. But anyway, I'm not going to go through all that. But anyway, my recovery was pretty long. It was about 6 weeks, and
don't forget to tell them about the cards your children sent.
Yeah, during this time, Joanne, my friend at school, like I said, she was bringing meals like every day from different people, and she brought me cards that my children had written for me, and one of them, and it was such a sincere thought. I hope you don't die. That was one of them there.
I will always love you, even if you die.
Yeah. Well, there was one also that said, "I hope you don't die," and it was really from their hearts, because that was
what they were
their
thinking.
fear.
Yeah.
That was their fear. And one of them told me they meant have some warm soup, and they said have some worm soup.
Yeah. Have some worm soup in your worm bed.
But I was able to go visit them closer to Christmas time, when I was able to get out and move around a little bit, and they were really excited, and I missed them so much. And yeah, They were so good, though. They were so good. I wish we had had Zoom then.
Yeah.
You know? But, okay, so then I went to my oncologist, you know, for checkups. And my plea with him every time I went was, you know, Dr. Gokoko, I don't want chemo. I don't want to have chemo. And he was like, well, you know, nobody wants chemo. And I was like, I know, but I really don't want it. I really don't want it. Well, he said, well, there's a test that's come out, and we'll send off your sample. And if it comes back and you're in a low risk category, we won't have to give you chemo, but you may have to have radiation. And I was like, oh, I don't really want that either, but I didn't think I'd ask for that much at that point. So he sent it off. The test came back. I was in a low percentage of the cancer coming back. Okay. I didn't have to have chemo. I didn't have to have the first treatment of radiation. All I had to take, and I still have to take when I don't forget, I had to take a pill called tamoxifen, and most people gave it to you for 5 years, but he wanted me to take it for 10 years. But no chemo. That was a blessing to me, because that is what I was afraid of. And I think the whole thing, and again, this is me. I am not talking about anybody else's journey, but for me, I might have been sick, but because I didn't have to have chemo and radiation, I could go out and nobody really knew I was sick. Well, you know, I had the surgery, but nobody else would be looking at me and knowing that I was sick. And I don't know why that was such a big deal to me. I don't know. I can't answer that question, but that's kind of how I was feeling. Yeah. My family was so good to me during this point. That's actually when I got Facebook. Did you remember that? That's when you set up my Facebook page to give me something to do, because I wasn't used to staying in bed
all the time.
And that's the part that was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything, you know. But yeah. So I have been 8 years clear. I remember I went to the doctor after my surgery at some point, and you know how you have to check off, do you have this, do you have this, do you have this? And I was like, no, 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 no. And I got the cancer, and I put no, 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 no. Because my thought was, okay, they took the cancer out. I don't have cancer. And the nurse called me over. She said, you're going to have to check yes for this from now on. I was like, oh. Because I don't consider myself as somebody having cancer. I had cancer. It's gone, so I don't consider that now. But I hope this wasn't a downer, because I really do. I didn't want it to be. I wanted to share those funny stories that got us through. You know, I don't know. I feel so blessed, and I will say at times I feel guilty, because I know there are people out there who did not have it as easy as I did, and I know there are some people out there who are still struggling with it, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It was God's plan for my life. And I think, did you want to say anything?
It's been inspirational to watch how strong she was. And it was hard to see her go through it, because, you know, your mama is so special, you know, and the thoughts of anything happening were just awful. But I had the faith. I've never felt like anything terrible was going to happen.
That's what my son said. Going back to him thinking that we were keeping it from him, he said, I thought that's what you had, but I didn't think you were going to be, I didn't think it was going to, he didn't say, what did he say? I thought that's what you had, but I didn't think it was going to get you, or something like that. Can you pull that quote up?
Yes.
There's another quote that I found during this time. C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite all-time authors. I love C.S. Lewis. And this is a quote that I found from Mere Christianity, and this kind of sums up how I felt and Well, I'll just read it. Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps, you can understand what He is doing. He is getting the drains right and stopping the leaks in the roof and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing, and so you were not surprised. But presently, He starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make any sense. What on earth is He up to? The explanation is that He is building quite a different house from the one you thought of, throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but He is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it Himself. This quote just really spoke to me because, you know, there are so many people who have had a lot harder things to deal with. I mean, much harder. I would never say that what I went through is even comparable to what they went through. But this was a time in my life that I hadn't planned on. You know, my plans were derailed. And at first I didn't understand it, but you know what? Everything you go through molds you and makes you into the person that you're supposed to be. So that's kind of what I held on to at the time, and I'm hoping maybe will encourage some of you who are going through hard times right now. And I just love that. I share that every year about this time to commemorate the anniversary there, because as I kept telling myself over and over again whenever I was going through the procedures and stuff, this is one small moment in my life. One small moment. I can get through this one small moment. And let me tell you, this is the reason that I got through this. My family, my friends, and I am so blessed. But anyway, that is my breast cancer journey, and I bet you think you lived through the whole 8 years, didn't you? I am so sorry that this was so long, but it's kind of therapeutic talking about.
It's good to talk about it. Yeah.
And if anybody ever had any questions or anything that I could help you with, I'm not a medical person. I can't tell you what to do or what to do, but I can listen and I can answer any questions, curiosity that you may have, and I would be glad to do that. And as a family member, you know, I'm sure Rebekah would as well. But that's it. Can you think of anything else?
I can't think of anything. I think you told the story very well.
My little class, they were the top fundraisers for Relay for Life that year, and I can't remember how much money we raised, but it was in the hundreds of dollars. And like Rebekah said, this was a very impoverished area. So sweet. So sweet. And they were so kind, and so that was another thing that got me through all of this.
Oh, yeah.
So okay, I hope you got a smile on your face,
because it's all good.
It was a happy ending. So.
That's right. It's all good, guys.
So until next time, join us on Sunday.
Yes,
on Sunday
for our upcoming video.
Which at this point we're not quite sure what they will be.
No idea.
We should know by Sunday.
Yeah.
I think I got some notifications where things are coming in.
Cool.
So until next time, wear your pink and have a great day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.